Phebe Swill. My show is called the Phebe Swill platform, and on my show, we discuss everything human interest issues ranging from entertainment, politics, sports, you name it, that can get you excited and entertained. We discuss it all on the Phebe Swill platform. It's another edition of the Phebe Swill platform. I am Phebe Swill. Our topic this week, this edition, we're talking about teenage pregnancy, the rate at which we're having it in the country, and what could be done to reduce the amount of teenage pregnancy cases we have. And to talk about that on my platform today, I have with me Batu Shamal from UNICEF. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. Yes. Shamal, right? And I have Mira Kouma from the Family Support Unit. Mira, you're the head of the FSU, right? Yes. So I have them here. And also on the platform, I have a few ladies. You know, teenage pregnancy is a thing that women are really more passionate about. No different thing, but yeah, it's just women here today to talk about teenage pregnancy. We're gonna get the ball rolling. Mira, let's look at the statistics of teenage pregnancy. Is it on the increase or on the decrease?
Obviously, it's on the increase. Though I must inform people that it's not part of our vocabulary used in teenage pregnancy. We say sexual penetration because basically it has to do with an offense. We're not looking at the social aspects, seeing it as a teenage pregnancy. We are seeing it from the law, the legal aspect, meaning it's an offense. And
well, you know, there are cases of some of the teenage girls who are pregnant. It's not as a result of rape. Some are from their
it's still an offense.
Teenage counterparts.
It's still an offense, Phoebe. It's simple. Anyone below the age of 18 should not have sexual intercourse. If even you're willing, you go into it willingly, it's an offense.
How about with someone, let's say someone you're older than? Because we've seen cases of girls, the boys are younger than the girls.
You have relationships like that, obviously.
Is that also an offense?
Yes, a child should not have a sexual intercourse, full stop. You have a sexual intercourse, it's an offense.
So whether it's with an adult or
a child.
So in the cases where it's a teenage thing between two teenage kids, what is being done?
Well, frankly, we've been having such cases, and if the person is below 14, which is hardly the case, we don't charge. Or if it's above 14, there is a case. In most cases, it's difficult for you to charge such cases because it has to do with mutual consent, and it's difficult for the girl who is willing, who came to the relationship willingly, to prosecute or testify against the suspect in question. So it's difficult.
So in such cases, you just let it go?
Not at all. We usually try to cancel both parties. We have a goal to do that. But at the end of the day, we investigate and then send the file to the office of the Director of Public Prosecution for advice. So they give the advice.
Okay. Now, I'm sure those come not much. It's just a few of those, right? Majority of the cases I hear are from adult men impregnating teenage girls. Yeah. So how far with those cases handling them? Because there's this thing of, they say it's easy for the parents to say, we're taking it out of court, we're taking it civilly, we want to sort things out on our own.
It's mostly the case. We call it compromise of cases. Mostly parents think that this is their child. They have the right to decide if they want to go to court or not. But the law does not support that. It is compulsory. It's a felonious offense, meaning it is very serious against the state. If it's your child, the moment he or she has been abused, I'm saying he or she, because even the boys have been abused now sexually, the moment it has happened, it's not your case anymore. It's a case against the state. So
you have no choice in that.
So you have no choice but to prosecute the matter.
So if a parent tries to obstruct the justice, what happens? Is there a punishment for that?
There is an offense for the person. We call it perversion of justice. Okay. But it's difficult for us to really do that. We tried it once or twice, but at the end of the day we decided to
What makes it difficult?
Basically, you have to realize that this child will always be in support of the parents. We as police officers are seen as strangers. And then for you to the child has been abused, the parent isn't happy about it, but she is willing for one reason or the other, but might be selfish, to compromise. And then you as a say, no, you cannot compromise, we have to continue with this case. When the case goes to court, the child might not come. Most cases they don't come. And we need the child as a witness in court for the case to continue. So if the child does not come, the case will be taken out of court. So we are looking at it we educate them instead of prosecuting them, we educate them to see the reason why it is good for them to pursue the matter.
Okay, Mira, I'll just let you rest for now. But let me come to you. UNICEF, tell us what you've been doing in regards to teenage pregnancy. What has your role been?
Thank you very much, Phoebe. At the start you said teenage pregnancy is something for women are passionate about, and I would like to differ a bit and say it's both men and women actually, because if there's the national strategy which was launched in 2013 by His Excellency the President himself, which shows he's the first gentleman of the country, and of course that shows he's also putting a priority on it. UNICEF, it's not only UNICEF, I think UNICEF's role is more or less complementing the efforts of government, so we do not work in isolation. All our efforts are targeted at supporting and ensuring there's the enabling environment to ensure we reduce teenage pregnancy as much as possible to the least numbers. In terms of numbers, I think it would be good if we talk about how many people. In the past, in 2014, before Ebola, we had over that 28% of girls who were pregnant before.
Wow.
But we understand with Ebola there is an increase in numbers of girls that have been become pregnant, and so we're trying to see if we can work with the partners to ensure. There are other issues, not only the legal side like Mira mentioned, there's also the social aspect, there's also the economic aspect, there's also the attitudes and practices that we as Sierra Leoneans engage in, which unknowingly put children and adolescents at risk. So our efforts are, yes, supporting, complementing the efforts of government, but not only government, also NGO partners, and even communities and the girls as well, because we like to ensure that our work gives a human face.
Do you go on directly or personally talking to these girls, some of the victims? We go as far as that point.
Like I mentioned, our work, we want to give a human face to the work we do, so of course we do interface with them, but through our partners again. Like I said, the Ministry of Social Welfare is one of the leading agencies that UNICEF, not only the Ministry of Social Welfare, but with the Ministry of Health. For teenage pregnancy, I think the launch of the strategy made it a multi-sectorial strategy. It's looking at more than 3 ministries: the Ministry of Social Welfare, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and the Ministry of Finance, and the Ministry of Local Government. All those MDAs have some kind of role in terms of ensuring that teenage pregnancy is reduced as much as possible. So we through the support that we give to government and the support that we give to partners, ensure that yes, we interface with the partners, but ensure we also have some kind of engagement or some kind of one-to-one conversation with the children, because it's one thing hearing their stories from people, but it's another thing
hearing it directly
from themselves. So we also give ourselves the opportunity to listen, document, and see if we can be able to guide them to the necessary support services that are available.
Okay, it's touching talking about teenage pregnancy. Seriously, I have a lot of relatives and friends who are victims of it, so there are just so many effects. But Mira, do you think we are on the right direction in cutting down the amount of teenage pregnancy? Do you think we're doing the right things, probably with our laws, with our attitude, the messages we're sending out?
I think it's going to be a difficult thing for us all to really address. Firstly, yes, the laws are in place, obviously, but we have to realize that firstly, Teenage Pregnancy Secretariat really concentrating on the social aspects, and it's good. But it's difficult for us to really address it without addressing the issue of poverty. Because no matter how we educate children about not having relationships while going to school, they will always do that. And you have to remember that the parents themselves are involved in this. Some of them find the sugar daddies for their children. They are interested because they can't afford to give the good life they want for their children.
So they send them out.
So they send them out and do that.
Bring money.
Yes, it's happening, and so it's going to be difficult, because if even the mom is not doing that, maybe the mom is discouraging the child, they will always want to compete, peer pressure. My friend has a iPhone, I want an iPhone, so finding sugar daddies or other relationship, it's difficult. I think we have to use the whole package. It has to be all-encompassing. It's not a one-side way of addressing it. It's not only from the legal aspect, just from the social education. We have to think about the economic aspect. My colleague has said we have to think about where they're coming from. Are they really comfortable? Are they well provided for? And it's going to be difficult because poverty is something that is difficult to address.
Poverty seems to be affecting a lot of things in society. Okay, talking about teenage pregnancy, we have to look at how these girls go about getting pregnant. Because no woman would just get pregnant on her own. It's not possible. That doesn't happen. So I think much of it should be focused on the men.
Thank you.
The men, the teenage boys, you need a man to be pregnant. So if they can control their zippers a little bit more, then I think it would help us to cut down on the rate of teenage pregnancy. And it's a lot of things. Once I heard the Deputy Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs, Mustafa Bayatila, he mentioned a lot of things on a program we invited him on. He was saying, when you look at remote parts of the country, the chiefs and the soways in all those societies, they contribute to teenage pregnancy because some places they have this tradition or custom of saying, after every batch of Bondo society initiates, the chief or whoever is there should pick one among them as a bride. So imagine a young girl being picked by the chief as a bride. What do you expect? Teenage pregnancy is going to come up. So he was very bitter about that. So they're focusing more on that.
Yeah. I think tradition plays a key role in most of the things women are suffering in Sierra Leone. I agree with him totally. But we have to remember that it's not only that. We have the tradition, the custom that when you've gone through the Bonobo society, you're an adult now.
No matter how old you are.
No matter how old you are. So that's another issue. So he's right. And at the moment we do not have a specific law that speaks against FGM or the Bondo.
But mind you, they're saying now you should be 18 and above. It should be your choice to be initiated.
They're saying,
which at a large extent, I'm doubting if it's happening everywhere. I know some places it's happening, but is it happening everywhere?
Well, at the moment, I think due to the Ebola outbreak, we are having less number of cases of such. Though we had an intelligence that there was one that they went to do it in Guinea. They transported the kids to Guinea. It was out. We tried to investigate and all of that. But at the moment, we've not been hearing anything about Bono society. But remember, when Ebola is come to an end, the outbreak is cleared. What would happen next? Would we resume to our customs? We have to remember people are clinging on to traditions and customs, but they are forgetting that those that are bad should be kept away. For me, I was invited by American Embassy to the library board to discuss the same issue. We are not speaking against the Bono society, but there are some good things in it because women are trained to
take care of the
and all of that.
home,
But about the cutting pattern and all of that. And as you said, if it's 18, I think it will be good. Really, 18 will be good. At least you become an adult. For me, as far as I'm concerned, 18 is not an adult because if you're still with your parents, the African mentality and all of that, you have a lot of things to do for you to become an adult. So generally, I think there are many issues around traditions and customs that are affecting women in general.
Okay, she's Mia Koloma and she is Batu. We're here, we're discussing teenage pregnancy on the Phebe Swill platform. Let's get a quick break.
I am Phoebe Swill. My show is called the Phebe Swill platform, and on my show we discuss everything human interest issues ranging from entertainment, politics, sports, you name it, that can get you excited and entertained. We discuss it all on the Phebe Swill platform.
It's the Phebe Swill platform. I am Phoebe Swill, and this edition we're talking about teenage pregnancy. It's a serious concern, and you've heard from Mia. It's on the increase, and we have to do something about it because these girls, they are our future leaders. See, there's Helen Johnson Sirleaf leading Liberia. We could have a few of them who could be our presidents, our doctors, our lawyers, journalists, you name it. But then if they're victims of teenage pregnancy, it's going to be very difficult. Now, I think, Mia, personally, this case of teenage girls, those who are pregnant, well, according to the Ministry of Education, visibly pregnant were exempted from the public exams, the Becker, the WASC and all. Personally, I think they are the victims being punished. Because if you look at the statistics for those girls, how many of them got pregnant by their teenage counterparts, teenage boyfriends? You look at, I've been following, there was a program I attended, you were there, you were talking about it. Most of those cases are girls who were raped or girls who come from very poor families whose relatives would push them, okay, this is your future husband or that's your boyfriend for now because it's taking care of the family. And so it's a lot. As a woman, you don't want to be with that man. He's sleeping with you as a teenage girl. You got pregnant. You are exempted from your exams. You have to go through the pains of labor. You have to go through the pains of raising a child you didn't intend to raise. So personally, I think the girls are the victims and they're the ones being punished. I'd like to get your opinion on this.
I agree with you, but at the end of the day, policies are policies. We have to follow through with them. I'm coming from a law enforcement background, and so I always follow policies. From my own view, I think it's wrong, but I think the Minister of Education realized that that's why they're making efforts in addressing the issue. You know, there is no perfection in humanity, you all know that, in human beings in our act. So they might have realized that they did something wrong, and I'm sure you help us out with the things that have been done for teenage girls that are pregnant. Things have been done, schools have been open for them, and all of that. So I think they've realized it was a wrong move. Because take into consideration that it's not only the girl, she didn't use herself to get pregnant. It's a two-side story.
Exactly. So where are the ones who got them pregnant? How come it's just one party who's suffering?
So I do agree with you in that.
And then I think again, to a larger extent, there's this serious problem in Sierra Leone. We are always, we myself inclusive as a journalist, we're always there to react. We're never taking proactive measures. And it's affecting us. Now, when Ebola came, we knew the girls were home, no schooling, no lessons, because there was this thing of no public gathering and all. What were we thinking as people in society to help those girls? Who did radio programs or television programs or sensitization things for those girls to say, abstain from sex, because after Ebola, you have to go back to school? Where did they get my stops to go visit those girls who are sexually active, to give them pills or whatever thing to prevent them from getting pregnant? So no one as an adult took a proactive measure. But then when it comes to them being pregnant, which we hopefully were expecting, everyone is punishing the girls. As representing UNICEF, I'd love to sound your opinion on this.
I don't want to agree that nobody was talking to the girls. I think Mary Stopes and all the other partners who...
How effective was the talk? Because the girls getting pregnant are the result of how effective your talk or your message went.
Let's understand Ebola was a very different situation, a different scenario, something very, very new that happened in Sierra Leone. And even we're still globally, we're still trying to understand so many things that we have not yet unraveled. And so a lot of things that we normally do, we didn't do, or we didn't do well because we thought, okay, if I took this chance, maybe that would put me at risk. Let's understand the first thing about Ebola is contact. It's unfortunate that yes, our girls
got pregnant.
Yes, got pregnant. But like you said, they didn't get pregnant alone. So it wasn't just one person not listening. It was, and as adults, if there were adults who got them pregnant, they would have been the more responsible people to have supported the girls to ensure they did not get pregnant. But I don't want to go too much into that. I think for teenage pregnancy, what we as UNICEF have done, Mira is here, we're supporting to a large extent to ensure that the legal framework works. It's different, it's multifaceted. So you look at the legal frameworks. Mira tried in so many ways. She kept saying it's difficult, it's impossible, it's difficult. So even within the legal framework, even though there are laws, there's the Child Rights Act, there's the Sexual Offences Bill, there's so many laws coming up. There are policies and legislations coming up, yet it's difficult to interpret because we're dealing here with human beings. If you come in a situation where a mother, she takes, there's an incidence of sexual penetration and they go to the police station and she says, it's my child, you do not have, and it's, you know, so it's sometimes difficult for even the law interpreters to interpret it. So what we as UNICEF are doing are trying to ensure that people like Mira have the necessary capacity and skills and resources to be able to interpret the law at the level where people understand. Because in a place where there's no law, there's bound to be anarchy. People will just do
as they
impunity. So
although there's this thing that ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Yes, but I agree. But I know. So we know, if we know people there's a deterrent. If I sexually penetrate somebody who is under 18, I'm going to run the jail for between 5 to 30 years or 18 years. Then that is some kind of deterrent. But again, you both spoke about the attitudes of people. Let's understand that it's difficult we say it's poverty, but to a large extent, poverty does not necessarily necessitate people's or compromise people's values.
Well, that's the excuse most people are using. They hide under the umbrella of poverty.
The values people stand for, people might be poor. A lot of you will agree with me that a lot of us, or a lot of people in Sierra Leone here, grew up in very, very poor communities, very, very poor families. But the values that their parents instilled in them still holds today, and they do not compromise those values. And some of the values, like Mira, I would tell you that the values her parents instilled in her is what maybe pushed her to the career she chose. So in a way, you would say the status, the financial status of the person does not necessarily determine or undermine or compromise the values that they stand or hold for. We see people who they're very, very, again, we need to make people understand there's a very, very low knowledge among people. People look for quick fixes. People want quick gentry, if I should call it that. You want your child, she's 13, somebody comes, he has a car, he has a phone,
you let her go, you let her up.
Maybe it's worth us investing some time and energy explaining, you know what, just holding on now and waiting for a while. If she gets to 18 and gets a better education, her chances of buying you the car that you admire from that man who is not giving for free would increase. The chances for her to get things for herself and you would increase. You know, so it's all, our work also is geared around that. So we support a lot of people to communicate positive messages, to help people give positive parenting, because it's not everybody. If now we're having a large number of teenagers getting pregnant, then we're having a large number of teenagers who are mothers caring for children. So what values do we think they would instill into some of those children?
Yourself, you're not a grown-up. So how can you really?
And we know the attitudes again, the attitudes of service providers. We know girls. The best thing is for us to ensure that girls do not engage in early sex, because that's one of the reasons we need to ensure we give our children the values. We make abstinence prominent, we make abstinence valuable. We give our children things that they can look forward to, that they can hold on to. They know if I abstain, somebody who comes and meets me is going to value me, is going to this. And how are the parents communicating that? How are the parents communicating that? And when they do get pregnant or when they start early sex, if they have the information to be able, the correct information to be able to prevent themselves from falling pregnant. If they choose, okay, let me go to a PHU to access the services, do they get are the attitudes of the service providers encouraging for them to be able to know that if I come, it's going to be confidential, it's going to be non-judgmental, it's going to help me.
But I'm sorry to hold you there for a while. I think that falls again a lot on the parents. At one time, I was in a taxi passing along Bay. There was traffic, so we were there for a while. There was this scenario: 2 women were in a serious quarrel. The other one was accusing the other lady of being a prostitute, and the other lady was saying, "I don't care what you call me. I don't care. I know I go all out to provide for my children, especially that they are girls. I'll see them through the education I did not get, and I'm going to monitor them." I was so impressed. She was saying she's going to go all out as a parent, whereas you'll find other cases where the parents would rather sit at home and enjoy the money and push their girls to go forward and sleep with men for the money. But then that's no excuse. Now for those who poverty is no excuse and the knowledge is no excuse, I think that the discipline of the parents, that friendly relationship between the mother or whoever the female person is in the home and the girl, says it all. It says a lot. That's why if your relationship with your girl child at home is good, the first person she'll run to if she's sexually active or in the case of accidental pregnancy would be you, not a friend who will take her to somewhere for an abortion where she'll probably lose her life. So do you see the value of sex education with parents at home?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Frankly, what I'm saying, the fault I'm saying is, as you said, with the parents. Most parents are busy. Even let's just forget about those that are sending their kids out. Even those that are not. They go in the morning and come in the evening. They don't know where the child is when she comes from school. You know, we've
What she's done, what she hasn't done.
That's one thing. And then we've lost the value of community engagement, not even community engagement. You know, there's a saying which says, which says to bring up a child, it takes a village to bring up a child. When I was coming up, I could vividly recall a woman living by my house will beat me even for something that's even my mom is not around. I think that should be this is Africa. That's our value. That's one of the values that help children to grow to become somebody in society. But we've lost it. In fact, now if you beat a child, somebody's child, they will fight with you. So I think we need to go back to basic, back to the good cultures and values, and then let's continue following those paths. I think it will be helpful.
Towing it from the line you're saying now, Mira, before, way back with our great-grandparents, there was this thing of you getting married as a virgin. There will be a family price or something because of the morale and all. So it was very difficult to get people who were married sexually active. We have lots of virgins getting married. But where do you think we went wrong? The generations that are coming, where did you think things went wrong?
It's a $1 million question. But again, time has... You and I know what, or maybe you're much younger. So for people my age would know when we were growing up, parents do not talk about sexuality. They do not even tell you about menstruation. You find out on your own and you learn as you go. The times have changed and everything is on their fingertips. The mobile phone tells them everything they want to know and things they don't necessarily need to know.
Just go
so my point is, if there has been an erosion of the family values or the things that we hold sacred, the things that we hold strong to, though there are still a lot of families in Sierra Leone who still hold on to those values. It's amazing, but they still hold strong to those values. They're raising their children to be strong, empowered children and women as they grow up. So it's not totally lost, and I do not want us to think that we have a lost generation. It's about us concerted efforts. I think people like you are creating a platform for us to talk about teenage pregnancy, helping other mothers who are listening, who are watching, who would relate to what we talk about, to ensure that we give people the knowledge and skills to be able to go back to where we started. We do not want people spanking children around too much. It's changing now. We could use alternative forms of punishment, but I believe the communal parenting was very, very important. It helped a lot. If we can go back to that, I am not recommending that we smack the children, but we can as well
keep an eye on
it. Yes, show, like watch each other's back if my child is there. There have been instances where we have seen children under 18 like getting into gangs, standing on the streets. I have seen some, the other day I was passing and this woman came down. She was well dressed, you could tell she was, and she came down and she just dispersed the crowd. And she spoke sternly to them. I'm sure she's the parent too, possibly of teenagers. And she thought, here were people like my children getting into something that they do not even understand, because that could have been a scenario where we would have all been arrested by the police. But somebody coming down and talking to them and dispersing them, fortunately they listened and they dispersed. I don't know if they converged again, but just the act, I think, would have sent some message to even the ones who were in the act and the onlookers, because there were a lot of children there. So we're going to keep trying. We're going to it's creating, like I said, creating the enabling environment. So ensuring that there are the laws which UNICEF is committed through its partners to ensure that there's necessary laws and policies to address teenage pregnancy. We want to keep the conversation going, talking to parents, encouraging people to about positive parenting to ensure that people know what their children are. We want them to talk about sex to their children. We want them to be the first people to tell their children about sex.
We're going to come to our recommendations to the parents and to the teenagers as well as our own little help to see if possibly that will help us reduce the rate of teenage pregnancy, but it's going to be right after the break.
Hi there, I am Phebe Swill. I am Phoebe Swill. My show is called the Phoebe Swill platform, and on my show we discuss everything human interest issues ranging from entertainment, politics, sports, you name it, that can get you excited and entertained. We discuss it all on the Phoebe Swill platform.
It's the Phoebe Swill platform, and our topic is teenage pregnancy, and it's a serious one. Now, I still have Mira and Batu. Before I let you go, as we're wrapping up, we'll look at possible solutions, because here on the Phoebe Swill platform, we talk about the problems, and we also bring forward possible solutions. So let's go to parenting. Back in the days, we used to have myself, at some point when I was with my aunt, there was this monthly checking of the girls to make sure you're still a virgin, and I'm sure that is lacking in so many homes right now. Possibly people don't care, or they're not even fans of such acts. So do you think we need to go back to those days? All those things are necessary?
That's one for me. I didn't go through it. So, you know, for me, I believe what brought me to where I am today is mentally. You know, you've got people in society that have achieved that I wanted to become. I looked at Dr. Christian, I thought I loved her so much, I admired her. By then she was in charge of farming.
I second you.
Thank you. Then my first, she usually does the L&DS debating between schools. I used to be in the debating society. You know, just for her to please her, know when she's around, I want to talk for her to hear me, wants to be like her. So if girls can have women in position of power
as mentors,
it will be helpful. They want to become them. If they know that if I get pregnant, I'll drop out and to affect my education, and I will not become Dr. Kizato, or not become, call it whoever. We have many women, Dr. Kadisi and others. They realize that they need to pay attention to their schooling. For me, I can boast that I didn't, till I finished convent, I never went out to any party. Never in my life. Never. I cannot even stand with my brother in my uniform outside. I was that disciplined with myself, not my mom. Nobody beats me because of that. I just have it in my mind and it's wrong. I never went to
so you think it comes with your self-consciousness and your determination to be successful?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, and that's the key thing, because no amount of beating can change someone.
No.
So it has to do with you, what you're thinking. But then at the end of the day, when you get pregnant, not your mother would suffer, not your father, not your brothers, it's you.
Yeah.
I once spoke with Millicent Rhodes. I had an interview with her. She said she's a victim of teenage pregnancy, and she said it wasn't easy. It was a mistake for her, but it's not something she's advising anyone to go through, because it was the grace of God that she's alive and successful. But not everyone who falls as victim of teenage pregnancy can be successful. So it's one thing to learn from. But now for those girls who probably out of peer pressure, looking at someone coming to school and says, oh, I'm sexually active, it's all fun, it's this, or that one comes, I was pregnant, my parents took me to the village, I delivered, I'm back in school. What would you say to them? How does teenage pregnancy affect them and their future?
Let's understand the very low status, very generally low status of girls in communities. We bring women and girls down. Growing up in communities, in our homes, inadvertently we put girls down and make them look very small, so the self-esteem is very low, and so they value themselves very little, you know, in most homes. And so in those instances, girls, and you do not communicate what you need to communicate to them. Like I was saying, you do not tell them what it is, how their bodies are evolving when they turn adolescents, when they start, when they reach puberty. You do not communicate what they need to do and not to do, and they start learning on their own. The not nicer things is what is appealing. And so if you do not tell them, I tell people, if you do not tell your teenagers,
their friends will tell them.
Their friends will tell them and will not tell them the right thing. So if you do not tell them the right thing, they would, of course, have their information in the wrong places. So I think changing the way we address children is one of the way we address girls as well. Giving them the skills, giving them the knowledge and skills to be able to understand what it means. It's a point where they're exploring, they want to explore, they want to know, they want to test. Give them the appropriate information. So ensure that they have the skills, ensure that they have the capacity. I'm saying the capacity because, again, we put our girls in schools and they go to school and they tell them, you you have to pay extra charges. And they come back and tell their mothers, I have to pay 15,000 or 20,000 euros extra charges. And the mother says, I don't have it. But she has the money to buy a shobi, for the wedding that is coming up in the village. And she does not put the money to the 20,000 for the extra lessons. She's driven out of school once, twice. The third thing she wants to do is, how can I get 15,000?
And pay for myself.
And pay, because, we, in some ways we are putting a lot of pressure on the girls. We are saying God power, we want them to go to school and complete. But is the school environment itself conducive enough for them to learn, develop and end well? Because if you have a school where a teacher is also sexually abusing girls, taking his chances on girls because they cannot pay the lessons, we send our girls to school, maybe not in the Western area, but we send them, we do not even give them lunch, we do not give them transport, they have to ride Okada.
Some parents don't even check their kids to make sure that grade you're scoring in school is genuine, you're not paying your teacher or sleeping with your teacher.
Yes, and some
all they care about
parents will say, they don't even, some parents do not even check. With the girls go to school, they do not even check what's happening. Is she okay? Is something happening? We spend the teachers spend more time with our children more than we spend, especially for working mothers. So if you had time to check with that teacher who is teaching your girl, you may learn a lot from both the male and female teachers. So ensuring that girls have that enabling environment where they can learn free of abuse and exploitation, again, would help to a very large extent. Then you talked about, Mira talked about mentoring. I believe also very much in mentoring, but also we have to ensure that if our girls start, the ones who are sexually active, we cannot stop them from having sex. Let's provide them with the pills. Let's provide them with the methods to contraceptive use. Let's give them the information.
So that comes back to the relationship with the parent and the child.
Absolutely.
So once you have that relationship and you get to know that child is sexually active, you have to go straight to the hospital. But then if the relationship is lacking, then that's a challenge. They'll go straight to the friend who will say, don't worry, have sex, and after sex you just go straight to the toilet and pee and do this and do this. Seriously, you have all sorts of crappy information coming with inaccuracies that aren't even really the correct information.
So in line with that, I think again, if the girls do get pregnant, I think we cannot say, the thing is that they're still children.
Yeah.
And we have a law in this country that says all children should go to school, boys as well as girls.
It's part of our human rights.
Yes. And so even though they may have fallen pregnant, I think we need to ensure that they get the support that they require as children, not because they're pregnant, but as children, and ensure that parents support them, the school, the education system supports them, and the other social services support them. UNICEF is supporting through the Ministry of Education to ensure that we have what we call alternative learning for girls who are falling pregnant. We know that a lot of girls have fallen pregnant through the Ebola. What we're doing is to ensure that these girls benefit from, have the 4 key subjects: Maths, English, Integrated Science, and Social Studies, as a way of means of keeping them busy till they have their babies, or then till they
and ginger them to get back
to school in the next academic year, which would happen sometimes. At the moment, we have about 3,800 girls who have already enrolled in the 44 learning centers that we have supported the Ministry of Education to establish across the country.
Okay, Batu and Mira, thank you very much. But before we end the discussion, we have other people on the platform who would share their opinions, thoughts, views, and give their comments.
I've been following up on what Phoebe and her lovely ladies have been saying. I have a few contributions to add to that. Firstly, they were talking about the Western, our old traditional culture, and where did we go wrong? I'm sure that the first place we went wrong was the adoption of the Western culture into our culture. Yes, we are evoluting nationwide, but there are some things it is best you leave it to the Western world. The issue of allowing our children to do certain things because time is progressing, we want to live in the 21st century. Those are things that are steps towards getting these kids pregnant while they are teenagers. And the use of mobile phones, for example. I have a daughter, she's 8. She doesn't use a phone. She goes to school, she comes from school. If there's any problem, the teachers have my number. I don't see any use to hand my daughter a mobile phone. If she wants to play games, there are other ways. Normally we used to play Adai, Akra, Kiksid. We use those games as our way of entertainment, not listening to music, not dancing, not, I read over, we have this lawyers group, WhatsApp group, and there was this comment a senior colleague of mine made that when you look at your kid and she's dancing, she's wiggling her waist, and you're like, oh, that's my girl, she's growing up, that's the first step you're taking in showing her what's wrong and telling her, do it. When she starts wiggling her butt, give that butt some good spanking. That's the African way. I can remember when I was a kid, I dare not dance in front of my mom or dad. We didn't have much, but we had self-respect and prestige. That brings me to another point, the point of poverty. I didn't come from a very wealthy family, no. My parents had to work. My mom had to go. In the morning at 8:30, we all leave the house together. My mom had to go back to college so she can have some sort of education to support her kids. And with all that, she goes, she comes, we all come together, but she makes sure that she sees her books. Well, I'm the only girl in my family. I had 4 boys. I'm the last one. And my mom made sure that even though she had to work extra hours, she gave me that little time she had. She told me she was my best friend in the world. So the issue of parents working too hard, that doesn't give an excuse for not having any time for your daughter. She is your flesh, your blood. There's this old saying in Creole, where girl picking come out fine, I'm papa. When it come out bad, I'm mama. So when you know that that's hanging over your head, you give that time, that's talk, that little pep talk, you can. I went to an all-girls school, and we all had these little cliques. But inside a clique, there is always a clique. And inside the clique, I chose the friends that I knew had the same values, like I do. I could remember one of my colleagues, my friend back then, she was sexually active. And she was like, oh, this, oh, that, oh, that. And everybody wanted sex. I was, 16? I had a boyfriend by then. But now children don't do what I did look at that age, what I wanted in a boyfriend, children don't want that in a boyfriend. They now want somebody they can pose with. He has a phone, he has a car, he knows this person, he knows that person. They can go to club together. My boyfriend, he's a doctor right now. My boyfriend was a science student, as I was a science student back then. And what we did together was hit the books, had debates. He was sexually active, and now we have this ultimatum between boys and girls. No sex, no relationship. He firstly tried the no sex, no relationship. I'm like, okay, bye-bye, see you. But he came back and like, okay, I'm sexually active, you not. We hit the books. Don't get mad when I do something out of the relationship. And I never did. As long as when I have my assignments, he can help me out. So it's what they're looking for in life that causes much of this problem that they're having. For one, I put majority of the blame on the children, not society, not the government, definitely not the parent, the children. You are the first, you know what you want to be. I sit here today, and there are times I am ashamed to tell people, oh, I am an engineer or I'm a lawyer. Two separate causes. But I achieved it before I was even 30. And I tell people in Sierra Leone, you don't get to see my type. But why? Because my idol in life was my mom.
For me, in order for us to be able to curb the high rates of teenage pregnancy, I will advise that we use the scientific or Western approach, which is the use of contraceptives. We have coil. Most people don't know how to use it, but I'm sure when you go to Marie Stopes, they will educate you about that. Also, we have implant. We call it, what do we call it? Captain Ban. We can use that as well. We have lots of pills that we can give to our young girls. That also helps. Another thing is we have condoms, not just female condom, but we also have male condoms as well. We should also encourage our boys to use condoms as well, not just the girls. We shouldn't limit it to just girls. We ought to advise the boys that, you know what, when you're sexually active, you want to have sex, use a condom. Another thing is we have lots of feminist campaign activists talking about teenage pregnancies as well. We shouldn't just limit the discussion to just radio, TV, and all of that. We should try as much as possible to reach out to those girls in the provinces, the layman that doesn't have access to TV or radio, sit with them, talk with them, educate them that when you get pregnant at an early age, there are so many after effects. I think with these few points of mine, we will be able to curb the spread of the high rates of teenage pregnancy.
Okay, Mira and Batu, from their contributions, would you like to say a few things as we wrap up?
Yeah, I want to address the issue about what the role model as contributed by the first speaker. We have to realize that growing up, most of us don't appreciate our parents when growing up. Not because we don't appreciate them really, because we see them as being against us. So for you to see your mother when growing up as a role model, it's difficult. It's only when I grew up that I realized that my mom made a lot of sacrifice for me, and I'm happy to have her as a mom. But seeing somebody out in society, she was saying that you see the success up with the tablet. No, it's not about seeing her with a tablet. It's about the position she holds as a woman. You admire that position and wants to do what she did to have that position. That's what I'm saying in general. Role model is not only your parents. You can have your parents as a role model. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong in having people outside to have as a role model. I think she was
possibly looking at it from another angle. With girls, you don't just look at someone who's successful and almost have it all and just admire the success. You have to know that there are challenges
along the way.
It's not easy. Dr. Christina Thorpe didn't become successful overnight. She had to go through some struggles. She had to study. She had to be serious, determined, and focused.
And that's like same with the mentoring. If we have mentoring in Sierra Leone, then during the process of mentoring a child or a young person, you realize that you have to go through stages. Everybody, there's nothing in life that you get easily. So
well, some girls want to get things easily.
No, it's obvious. It's obvious. The social world, everybody wants to have everything easily. But that's why we are here.
So
to
you
tell
have
them
to
that
get
you
your
can't
focus
have.
up.
And how can you have your focus up if you're not here to educate them? And she was also blaming them that I'm blaming the girls. You have to realize that children, the brains of children are not well developed for them to think in a positive manner. Frankly, the way I think and the way a teenager would think is different. I see life in a different way than they see life. They see the beautiful things. They see that's what they see. So you cannot blame the victims all the time. Yes, they have the role. The parents have the first step of showing them that there is more to life than pleasures. Or for you to have this and this, you have to work for them. So the role of mentoring starts with the parents, as she was saying. But you can't blame the child. Because if I come in a home where my mom does not care, or she's not even living an exemplary life, then if I become somebody useless tomorrow, would you say it's my fault? No, I came up into this world. I don't know even what I should do to become people that's worthy of emulation. Because my parents or somebody within my family didn't live up to expectation. So the first step, the parents have a role to play. The community also have a role to play for the child to understand that I've got to step up my game, as young people can say.
Okay.
Also, we have the role of continuous learning also. That's why we are here. Whenever we are called, UNICEF is called, FSC, police, or whatever, whenever we are called, we are there to continue to educate them. We cannot continue to condemn the Western world. Things are changing. The world is evolving. You cannot, nothing will stay the same, no matter what you say. Even the Western world, their own values in the past are not the same values now. So I think all what we have to do is educate children in general.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Batu.
Just to respond, I think I liked very much what the last speaker spoke about, contraception.
Yeah.
But just to emphasize a little bit that our first cause is to ensure that girls do not get pregnant. I think that is the core goal of all of us fighting to ensure that all girls do not get pregnant. Our girls do not get pregnant. My sister's daughter does not get pregnant. My brother's daughter does not get pregnant. That's the first step. And that's what we're trying to do. And so all the things we're trying to do is to ensure that let's give people the skills, the knowledge, the information. Let's change our attitudes. If people are thinking, oh, it's okay for you to have somebody older who is providing a lunch for you, let's tell them it's wrong. Yeah. Because their children, their decisions, the decisions they make may be like children. We as adults need to be in a position to guide,
to
protect,
act like adults,
to protect them and support them, because they may make decisions which may not always be in the best interest of them. So as adults, we are supposed to provide that kind of environment. We're supposed to provide that kind of space. How do we do it? Let's tell adults, when we see adults in public with very little children and give them an eye of a condescending look to show that the act is contemptuous and what they're doing is not right? Yeah. Do we? We allow clubs, we allow people to have 13, 14-year-olds to
go
enter
into clubs,
nightclubs. There's no system. Yes, we have a government, but is government responsive enough to be sure that minors do not go to nightclubs? Yeah. Is there a prohibition against minors buying alcohol or using drugs? That is why we're saying if there are so many issues that help or push teenagers to get pregnant, and if we do not look at them from that perspective and we start blaming them, then we as adults who were supposed to have created that space for them to grow, thrive, and develop, push them, and when they fall pregnant, when they make the mistakes that we did, which are our mistakes, we blame them and hold them responsible. So by saying that we're blaming them to take the responsibility, I do assume if I give my children the skills as a parent to be able to understand what it means, I give them the self-esteem to know that they can make positive decisions, positive actions, positive things in life, that we know it will have positive outcomes. And so if we as the state, if we know we do not compromise, if a child is raped and we go and the mother says, it's my child, I can take a decision, by that we're communicating something to the child. And we're telling them you're less than human. We're telling them it's not,
you have no value at all. Yeah.
And so we're communicating something that we do not know. If we tell our children, we belittle or we make our children so small and insignificant that they have no value for themselves, how do we expect them to, and somebody pushes something at them where they think it's nice and fancy and makes them feel good. And
creating a platform for them to look like you're a queen here.
Yes, they go for it. They're children. That's the emphasis. And again, if we're saying we cannot, when we have not done all the things that we're supposed to do, as adults, as families, as communities, as governments, as partners, as donors, when we do not help children to ensure that they grow up in an environment that is protective, when they fall pregnant and we say, no, we can't, you're not entitled to an education because you're pregnant, but you're a child. Yeah. And our laws say every child should go to school. Yeah. So we need to think around how we can ensure our girls have sex education from the home, from the communities, from the schools, make the curriculums that have a sex education that is age appropriate. We do not want our 8 and 9-year-olds to be told about condoms, but we can put it in a way to let them understand about good touch, bad touch. So as they grow, we give them information that matches their age. So they can, by the time they reach puberty, they have the knowledge, they have the information, they have the skills to protect themselves. And we also have to ensure that parents also, we like Maria was mentioning, we send our girls into FGM. By the time they come out of country, you're ready for marriage. You're ready, and if you're ready for marriage, you're ready to have sex. You're ready to initiate sex, and if you're having sex, and
you should get ready for pregnancy
too. So we have a lot of girls who are going into unions on unions that are not recognized or recognized. They're children. They're still children. They're in a marriage. They're 14. They're 15. They get pregnant. So what are we going to say? We're going to say, oh no, let's keep punishing them. The children, let's know they're at this point, they are the victims who we as adults, by not doing what we're supposed to do, still put them more at risk, and by saying that we're not giving them or we're not putting in place things that will protect them, we continue to put them on. And let's understand, we have a lot of girls in this country. Our children are about 50%, and a significant percent of them are girls. Let's see how we can make our girls much more empowered, our communities much more empowered to care and protect and support children. And also, we ask government to be responsive, to put in place not only laws, not only systems, but to ensure that if we say education is free, let it be free.
Free for all.
Let it be free completely. So there are no hidden costs, there are no extra lessons, there are no 1,000 for registration, there's no 5,000 for maths. I've never had in my life, I had up country, there's maths practicals. I don't know, I'm not a science person, but I had maths practicals where children pay for it. So when we create those environments, which are kind of traps for our children, and we do not support the children, when they come to us, we tell them, hey, I don't have money, your school, this your teachers, they like money, and we send them away, and they want to stay in school. They want to do good, they want to be like their peers. But again, if their peers are not giving them positive vibes, they're not giving them positive influences, they're not giving them positive information, it would influence them badly. And so our peers, the peers need also, we need to understand that when we talk about if it's peers, let's give every child the information that they need, and then they can be what we want them to be.
And that's how it has been, teenage pregnancy. Now, as we're wrapping up, I'm going to tell it straight to the girls. Everything starts and ends with you. Do not do it by choice. Don't do it. Always say no. Get your focus. Get yourself together. Know what you want to become. Dr. Christiana Thorpe went through education. Dr. Kadi Sise went through education. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf went through education. All the successful people you see, it doesn't come overnight. Your attitude helps. No amount of law can change what you think. No amount of punishment from your parents can change what you think and what you do. They can only protect you as far as they can. But you sneaking around doing all the other things, mind you, the victim would be you. If you get pregnant and go out of school, your mom's there. She's not the one suffering with the pregnancy. It's you. It's not the man, it's not the boy, it's you. So choose education. After education, you have your career. You can choose any man you want. Be married and do whatever you want to do. But set your priorities right. When you're a school-going girl, act like it. Act like one. Be a schoolgirl. Don't be a mother. Don't be something you're not. So you have to be determined, know what you want to become, and walk in that path. Getting pregnant doesn't help you in any way. Ask those around you who are victims of teenage pregnancy. They'll tell you all about it. And believe you me, they wouldn't tell you it was fun. It was something they enjoyed. So get yourself together. I am Phebe Swill, and you've been watching the Phebe Swill platform. Thank you.